Well, I'm going to put out something a little bit interesting because, a lot of people on YouTube talk about Israel and, what's going on and their influence in the United States and things like that. Um, it's been my contention that I think Israel and Jews are getting set up. I know they got a lot of power and all this kind of stuff. And I know there's in the Bible, it's written, or whatever Bible you want to take a look at, that Jews will basically rule the world or have the world given to them by God. That may happen. It's probably going to happen on its own or something. Who knows? I don't really know. But I'm just going to put out some other angles here because, what I've been sensing, and not just sensing, but it's been coming up with glaring facts. They're being set up. There's other powers out there more powerful than Jews, and they're being set up, and they're going to take the blame for a lot of things. That's what I think's coming up here. And let me just start out with John Kerry, our new replacement Secretary of State, replaced Hillary Clinton. He's warning U.S. Congress against passing new sanctions against Iran. Now, the word is that they've already made a deal with Iran about a year ago. Iran, whatever the hell. I'm from New Jersey, so whatever the hell I say, that's how I say it. It's not an insult now. But the thing is, they've probably had something in the works where they're going to back off and come to some kind of terms with Iran. And it's probably been in the works for a while. Now, Kerry, a lot of people might look at, when he was senator and now he's Secretary of State. Some people are very critical of Israel. They always say that Kerry's always just, doing whatever Israel wants. But, actually, Kerry just looks out for his own political career. And that's really what the fact is, okay? Israel doesn't pull as much weight around as people think a lot of times. That's going to be part of my contention here. And it looks like, I think, they're going to be set up to start the war, and maybe the United States is going to come into it. Now, a lot of times, if you look back in history, we know about the Balfour Agreement, Balfour, where basically established Israel more or less at one point in time. It was actually before World War I, but basically that's what established Israel, 1948. It wasn't just that Zionist Jews wanted to establish Israel, but there's also these other groups out there that are like types of Christians that wanted to establish Israel because it's going to bring about the new world order in their mind. It's going to bring about the conversion of all Jews to Christianity in their mind. That's what they're thinking. And it's also going to bring about the destruction of Israel in their mind. That's what they want. And actually, George Bush might be one of those clowns involved in that, It's like everybody's playing a different angle, and a lot of people are focusing on the Jews in Israel and thinking they're pulling all the strings. But there's other people that have other angles in this whole deal, the way things are working. It's almost working like the Ouija board. Everybody thinking it's the other guy moving it. And right now, the focus is all on Jews in Israel. But I think they're being set up. I'm pretty certain of this. Now, something that's coming up very recently, and this was actually in the Israeli Times, okay? It was about Israel said to be working with Saudi Arabia on an Iran strike plan, okay? Now, Saudi is just as much worried about Iran having nuclear weapons as Israel. Now, you could say they're not making nuclear weapons or having inspections and all this kind of stuff, but, I'm going to just point out something again. And it's common sense. It's really simple. You don't need to get super, technical about anything, but it puts out the glaring facts. Iran has enough natural gas for 100 years. They got the second largest natural gas reserves in the world, but if you actually figure the concentration, Russia beats them, but Russia's got a lot more land mass, but they actually have more per square mile. They got decades and decades and decades worth of crude oil. They're not going to run out of energy. And they have very little uranium. And uranium actually is going to, the uranium supplies for nuclear power is probably going to only last another 20 years the way things are going. Now, they can switch to thorium, which is real clean. And that would avoid the problem with the atomic weapons or anything like that, because thorium doesn't produce the type of weapons grade materials needed for atomic weapons. That's why no country uses it, okay? That's why France doesn't use it. That's why the United States doesn't use thorium, because it doesn't make weapons grade materials, okay? You know, but Iran can use thorium in its nuclear power plants, and it solves the whole issue, right? Because actually their close neighbor, who they trade oil with, India, has a lot of thorium, and even Australia has a lot of thorium close by, so they got a pretty good supply. And there's a lot of thorium in the world that could power nuclear power for a long period of time, and it's much safer. Does not make weapons grade materials. That's the big drawback to it. So, they are trying to get nukes, okay? I mean, and you could say maybe that's fine because everybody, other people have nukes, but the contention is they're going to use them, and they'll say, "Oh no, they haven't attacked." I think they will, but anyway, they're worried. Let me put it to this way: they're worried they're going to use them. Okay, and but with Saudi, they're worried about it too. So basically, this is from the Israeli Times, and they talked about Israel is actually planning with Saudi on a strike plan against Iran. And Saudis are very, very worried and furious over possibly the United States, letting off the pressure on Iran, which is actually crushing your middle class all the way. It's actually causing more problems for the middle class in Iran than it is to the establishment with the sanctions. That's a fact, okay? But it's like, I think Israel is being led into a trap. Now, Israel is also getting together with the French, and the French, to possibly strike Iran. So you might see something start where Israel doesn't go it alone. Like if Netanyahu had his way, this would probably happen. That where Israel doesn't go it alone, because Saudi has already said to allow Israel to use its airspace, which is, right across the border there, right? And the French are, going along with this too. And it actually, when I look at this, it's almost like there's elements in the United States, like the Bush camp, they would go for this war. They want this war. And I think the Bush camp actually represents a lot of other things. It's like Bush is one of the visible people we see. But it would bring about, and they're almost like they have like this pseudo-religion, it would bring about the New World Order. And that's something they're behind. You see? And I think they're using, this war is actually going to destroy Islam and Israel at the same time. And who's going to actually have the power after that? You see, what element would have the power after that? Right? Actually, Russia would be a major benefactor of it too, and Vladimir Putin. So despite him talking peace, he's full of it too, okay? I mean, you got to really look at what's going on, like how you can benefit by something money-wise, because what would possibly happen there is you'd have a major spike in oil prices, collapse of the financial system, a reset. This would be where all the metals probably go up and everything too. And Putin would be smiling to the bank, and he'd be actually throwing dirt at the West left and right for, this and that and all this type of stuff. So I see like a pretty damn shrewd game going on behind the scenes here. I think that's partly why Obama's president right now, too, because it's like, it's like it's a game he's playing, too. He's not actually somebody that's for Israel. Like, Israel's trying to influence him. I know that. I know that. We see that in the news. But he's almost like him and basically Valerie Jarrett, which is basically the de facto president in a lot of ways. She's such a high senior advisor that's been around the Obama since, before he was even in politics. She basically was the guy. She was the person, the lady that brought him to the inner circles and met and introduced him to all these different people that got him started. And she was actually born and raised in Iran. So there's a lot of things going on where you're seeing, Israel doesn't have this major control in the United States like people think. They're strong, and Jews are strong, and Israel's strong in the United States. But what it looks like to me is they're getting set up. And there's other elements around that basically do the will of Israel for sometimes for other reasons. It's like they realize that, by having this Armageddon, whatever the hell it is, in the Middle East, that it's going to help bring about a new world order. But their goal is to actually destroy Israel, destroy all the Muslims, and destroy Israel, destroy the Jews, and convert all the Jews, and establish a new world order. That's why you're seeing a lot of times a cooperation where Israel wants something, they let them have it, because they're both working. The other people that aren't actually Jewish that are allowing this to happen have another goal in mind. That's why I think what's going on here, I think Israel is getting set up. They're basically going to make them do the first move. And you'll see the United States probably get involved in it, and you'll see Putin say, oh yeah, the West is a puppet of Israel, but it's not, that's not the game. That's not the game. The actual game is to establish a new world order. And this could actually bring about the financial collapse, a planned financial collapse of the West, by bringing up and spiking oil prices really high, because oil prices, as they move up, it actually takes a major slice off the gross domestic product, actually productivity. As oil prices move up, productivity gets slammed down. That's why they can only move up so high. But a war in the Middle East, even though we have all this domestic oil, it'll drive up the prices because it's a global market. Now, I also talked about the spot market and oil being rigged, and I guess I'll link that video because it goes into some other things about the BP oil spill, and I'll put that video down on the information box. But it looks like Israel is being set up. And Israel, like when they first did this thing where they established Israel, and it was in with the British aristocracy, they wanted it to happen too, and all this type of stuff. There's other goals. The elite, the Western elite in the world, have other goals in mind than the Israeli Jewish leadership. The Western elite, like the Bush crowd or whatever the hell it is, that's one of them too. They're looking to establish a new world order, and they're doing it through Israel. They're using actually a lot of biblical predictions and things like that, because also that helps people to accept, what they're going to present. Basically, they use religion as a way to actually make people think, well, yeah, this was willed by God, and it was all written, and they make it happen. So the next step is to push in, whatever they introduce. So I think there's a very, very, very shrewd game going on in here, okay? And Israel is being set up. So, you may disagree with that, but it looks like, the thing is, I don't think Israel even realizes they're being set up. I don't even think they are. This is how I'm seeing it, okay? That's how I'm seeing it. I think they're being set up. I don't think Netanyahu realizes he's being set up, but I think he is. I think he is. And, these clowns like John Kerry, he'll kiss Israel's butt when there's something in it politically for him. But, now he's changing his tune completely. Because basically Kerry works for the real power. See, like I've been emphasizing all along here, that Israel gets what it wants when the real power wants it to happen that way, because they got another goal in mind. You see? Basically, it's going to they're trying to actually coordinate a lot of things, I think, in cahoots with what people believe as a religion, because they're going to let you buy into, what the next thing is. So a lot of people, I think there's, what's going on is there's like a lot of people actually just looking under the elite, the real elite, not the Jewish people, not the Israelis or whatever. And actually, just as a side note, most Israelis are, as an average citizen, they don't have a lot of money, okay? Most Israelis are actually more poor than what's going on in Europe, and there's a lot of recession, deep recession going on in Europe. Actually, a lot of Israelis live below the poverty line, so it's not like, You know, so if you're actually thinking to hell with Israel, you're not really thinking straight. It's not really like that. And like I said, I think they're being set up, and I think the leaders in Israel are being set up, and they don't realize it. Because every time Israel gets what it wants, it's because the real elite allow it. Allow it. Allow it. And it's because they have the real elite have another goal in mind. And I think the goal of this setup is that Israel is going to be blamed for starting the war. They're deliberately fostering tensions between Muslims and Jews on purpose. Maybe the establishment people that run Iran are actually working with the West somehow. Who the hell knows? I don't know. You know, Ahmadinejad, I really, if I'm not saying his name right or whatever, I really suspect him big time. And, you know, if this all comes about, it's going to bring about the destruction of both Israel and the Muslim world. And it's actually going to raise oil prices a great deal. And it's also going to bring about probably the financial, but a major calamity in the financial markets. There's going to be a financial reset due to this, too. Because look how much oil is going to be interrupted, and look how much they're going to rake in domestically for oil now that they got, you know, the Bakken Reserve cooking up too. So this might be coming up pretty soon. But like I said, I think Israel's being set up. You may disagree with this, but like I said, it's like there's elements in the West that they want the establishment of Israel because it's going to fulfill prophecy. And it's going to fulfill prophecy about Armageddon. It's going to fulfill prophecy about the New World Order and establishing the New World Order. And actually there's elements in the West that just want to convert all Jews to some type of new hybrid Christian religion or something like that. And that's why they're allowing this all to happen, because they want it to happen. They want it to happen because they have other goals in mind. Not the same goals that the Israeli leadership has in mind, who I think are getting set up. So I want to present this because it looks like this is coming down. Israel is working with the French and the Saudis on a first strike. It looks like John Kerry, Secretary of State, is actually telling the Congress, don't pass more sanctions against Iran. And it looks like for the past year they probably already made an agreement with Iran about backing off the sanctions. And, you know, it's going to be blamed on the Muslim president and all this kind of crap, but basically there's a lot shrewder games going on behind the scenes. And Putin's going to be talking up peace, and if there's a war, he's going to be smiling all the way to the bank, and Russian exports of oil are going to go up vastly in price. He can demand a lot more U.S. dollars, and he's going to get his slice out of it while throwing as much dirt at the United States as possible. But, you know, that's part of the New World Order plan too, because the United States and its system of government, of limited government and division of government and its constitution, is the biggest freaking problem to the New World Order going. So, you know, I kind of hope this video gets out there, because I don't know if I put all this in the best way, in the best manner, but I think I have a pretty good handle on what's going on here and who the real elite are and what their real intentions are. So the game is to out-shrewd the shrewd, and we can do it, because, you know, I got no use for elite. I think they're useless eaters. So what can I tell you, right? And you know, you don't have to blatantly like back up Israel. I'm not telling you that, but just watch how you think, because they're getting set up. They're getting set up. That's what I'm looking at, okay?